Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Oregon Business Association President Ryan Deckert. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of the Oregon Business Association, Ryan Deckert.
Senator Courtney, could I get a... Thank you very much for coming to the 2014 Statesman dinner. Well noted. Please enjoy. We lost two great Oregonians this year. Please join me in a video about Governor Atiyeh and Dave Barrows.
I really believe one of the significant things that's occurred is a turnaround of the image of the state. The image of the state was you didn't want business, you weren't friendly people to tourists, the whole thing, come visit, don't stay, really rung pretty loud. And it was very difficult for people to even look at or even think about the state. There were those in Oregon that who were in business, and they wondered if government really was interested, and many were thinking seriously of moving out. We've turned that all around.
The Color Guard started the events, and dignitaries from all over Oregon and beyond gathered in the House chamber to honor the governor. Atiyeh served 28 years in the legislature. He was governor from 1979 to 1987. Speaker after speaker talked about the Republicans' ability to reach across the aisle, including former Democrat Governor Barbara Roberts.
Governor Atiyeh is Oregon's symbol of public service. He is a role model of a true gentleman.
It's my great pleasure to introduce you to perhaps, and he's going to tell us if it's true or not, the Dean of the Oregon Lobby or Capitol Club, Dave Barrows. How are you, sir?
Nice to be here, Representative.
Dave, oh, don't do that because it's not true anymore. But Dave, tell us how long you've been inside the building, working inside the building.
I've worked in the building for 52 years. I've been lobbying for 48 years.
48 years.
Yes.
I'd say you've seen a little change, but I don't want to appear, completely out of it.
Well, there have been a lot of changes. When I first came here, as a floor staffer, a page, and then later as a lobbyist, there were no wings, no offices, and legislators, desks on the floor were their offices.
One final thing, and then I'll let you go. How far will the Ducks go? This is our March Madness show.
They will win the first game. Depending on who comes out in the other bracket of the other game, I think they can beat Notre Dame. I'm concerned after that because they just one bad shooting night and it's over. They don't have any other way to do it. They can't do it with height.
Nah. Well,
but they can do it. They can do it with shooting.
We'll test your hypothesis. Thank you very much for
You
spending
bet.
time with us.
I'm delighted.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Senator Jackie Winters.
The stories we have all read got it right. Governor Atiyeh was a champion for Oregon, for our businesses, our people, and our communities that often get left behind. He was accessible, maybe too accessible to some of us in his administration, and a real gentleman. Let me tell you one story about Vic, and it's one of my fondest memories. When I was the ombudsman and I advised the governor about the problem federal regulations caused for our seniors and our most vulnerable citizens, federal regulations changed so that medical deductions were no longer allowed. And in that process, seniors and citizens were denied food stamps. Vic, in his decisive way, said to me, "We can't wait for the feds to act." And today, 30 years later, we have one of the largest food collection and distribution system in the state of Oregon called Oregon Food Share. Our dear friend Dave Barrows, the dean of the Oregon Lobby, who started at the Capitol in 1955 as an intern while attending Willamette University. I believe Tom and Pat are here with us today, and I know that as you're here with us this evening, we would like to thank you for coming and allowing us to celebrate Dave. Dave Barrows loved his family and grandchildren. Dave loved the state capitol and the institution of democracy. He firmly believed that farmers, ranchers, teachers, and attorneys could gather once every 2 years, and now we do it every year in Salem, and hammer out our solutions to the big problems facing our state. And Dave loved the Blazers. We will miss these two great gentlemen. It occurred to me that one of the many things they had in common was though they were both white men who had carved out a comfortable life for themselves and their families, they both had an unbinding conviction and commitment to civil rights. Neither waited to be asked to take the lead when a person was not enjoying the full and equal rights in our society. For that, we can all be grateful for two of our great Oregonians. Thank you.
Jackie. Thank you, Jackie. That was really really good. And Pat and Tom, thank you for allowing us to celebrate Dave Barrows and Governor Urtia. Welcome to the 2014 Statesman Dinner. We are going to have a lot of fun tonight. We are going in a little bit of a different direction. We're going to celebrate science, discovery, and the spirit of Oregon. In past years, as you know, we've had cabinet secretaries, presidential candidates, U.S. senators. Partly because we are 2 weeks before an election, we decided let's talk about science, discovery, and the remarkable things that are happening here in Oregon. We got one applause. And now we got a bunch. We invited Shankar Vedantam. So you're going to hear from Shankar. He is a leading scientific thinker in America, from NPR science correspondent to the Washington Post to NBC News, to his book, The Unconscious Mind. I, frankly, and I know Inga is because it was her idea, are so excited to hear from Shankar Vedantam about science and discovery. We are not, like I said, going to have a political program this evening, but it is election season. We are really fortunate to have the vast majority of our federal and statewide elected officials with us this evening. And I know we have a lot of guests from California, from Washington, D.C., and so I thought, to kick things off, we would celebrate another Oregon innovation, which is our unique vote-by-mail system. And so I am going to cast my ballot from the stage. An Oregon first. Kate? Let's see here. Okay. Soil and Water Conservation District. Pavel Goberman versus Richard Elmeyer. Any help? I was told, Tina, you could help on this one. Okay, Pavel. Ballot measures 91. Should we legalize it or not? Senator Brzezinski, Senator Olson. This one will certainly keep Portland weird if it does pass. We have with us tonight Leanne and John DiLorenzo seated at the Davis Wright Tremaine table. Leanne, someone mentioned so someone mentioned that you're working on this very quietly, this initiative that no one seems to be getting phone calls about. I don't know if folks have heard of this initiative that Leanne and John have put on the ballot. Measure 92 here. Well, I do want you to know, the salad that you are now eating and consuming does not contain genetically modified ingredients. That statement was brought to you by and paid for and authorized by the No on 92 campaign. I'm told they're doing okay on funding. Both sides. Oh, and what is Measure 90? Oh, I've heard good things about this one here, the open primary. Jim Kelly. Jim, we'll come back to this one. We do have both our United States senators with us. Thank you so much for making the trip, Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley. We're going to hear from Senator Wyden. Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici has joined us. A little known fact is Bonamici is "I will crush you" in Italian. Actually, Suzanne, I couldn't remember. I know Bonamici is what is it in Italian? So, this is so Suzanne. It is, "We are good friends." Thank you, Suzanne. Congressman Kurt Schrader is with us as well. Congresswoman, I hope you are surviving this incredibly tough reelection campaign you have. We are really fortunate in this room to have most of our statewide elected officials with us. Obviously, first and foremost, the Governor of Oregon, John Kitzhaber. Governor, you have said that this is it, last campaign, and we did the math. I think we have it on the board. It is exactly tonight, 14 days, 2 weeks, and 35 minutes until the election has been decided or is over. The Republican nominee for governor is also with us, Dennis Richardson. Representative Richardson, thank you for joining us. We know the last gubernatorial debate was last night in Medford. Congratulations, Governor Kitzhaber, Representative Richardson. I think the debate season is over. Representative Richardson, with all the rain that is coming, we are hoping you did not drive the motorcycle up I-5 last night or tonight. Our Secretary of State, Kate Brown, the irrepressible Kate Brown. Kate, how are we looking on turnout? Thumbs up. She says, get your ballot in. We're counting on young voters, I know. For the State Treasurer, Ted Wheeler, is also with us. I have to tell this incredibly funny story that Inga and I did, we had our car stolen about 10 days ago. From our house, from our driveway, very, very unfortunate, go through the police reports, all that. We got a call on Thursday night that the Portland police had found the car, and I go out, we're excited, we go to pick up our car, it's in great condition, perfect condition, and I say, I know that house. Whose house? Was it the Wheelers, by chance, that called? The people who had taken our car had left it at Treasurer Wheeler's house. Well, Randall said he took it, but Randall remembers as state treasurer, we do think maybe they were cutting out the middleman. The state treasurer is in charge of unclaimed property, and so perhaps they just cut out the middleman and delivered the car to the state treasurer's house. We are also incredibly fortunate to have State Labor Commissioner Brad Avakian seated at the Hoffman table. Thank you, Brad, for coming, and Debbie. And like I said, our legislative leaders. I do want to say one thing, and we're going to take the chance, hopefully, to applaud all of our legislators who are here. But please know that we know the sacrifice that you make to put your name on the ballot, to wage these campaigns, take time away from your family. And so as I read these names, please hold your applause. But we really do, as an Oregon community, want to thank these legislators from Pendleton to the Dalles to Coos Bay. Our longest serving state Senate president in Oregon history, Peter Courtney, is seated right here. Peter Courtney. The majority leader of the state Senate, Diane Rosenbaum, Senator Lee Byer, Senator Jenny Burdick, Senator Michael Dimbrow. Okay, you can't clap. If he's at your table, you cannot clap because then it creates a problem. The chair of Ways and Means, Senator Richard Devlin, again. Senator Chris Edwards had a great session last session. Senator Fred Girod actually had a migraine and had to leave. Senator Bill Hansel is in from Pendleton. Thank you, Bill. Senator Mark Hass, my state senator, is seated with Comcast. Senator Betsy Johnson is here. Betsy, you should get more press. You should try to get your name in the... Senator Tim Knope is up from Bend. Thank you, Senator Tim Knope. And Senator Lori Monis Anderson is also here. Senator Alan Olson, Senator Floyd Przansky, Senator Arnie Roblin from Coos Bay. Thank you, Arnie. And Senator Bruce Starr is here. Rebecca Starr, I will say that it's now 2 weeks and 20 minutes until Election Day. So 5 minutes has been shaved off Rebecca Starr. Senator Chuck Thompson, and then again, Senator Jackie Winters. Please thank, I think, the majority of the state Senate who's with us here tonight. Our Speaker of the House is here, Tina Kotek. Thank you, Speaker Kotek, for joining us. House Republican leader and children's book author. If you haven't seen Mike's book, you should. Mike McLean is with us. My kids, Mike, all have a copy. You just have to say Val. She is the House Majority Leader. Val Hoyle is with us, but everyone knows Val. Representative Phil Barnhart, Representative Debbie Boone, Representative Brian Clem, Representative John Davis, Representative Margaret Doherty, Representative David Gomberg from Newburgh has driven up, Representative Chris Gorsuch, Representative John Huffman, who can stop a party or start a party or get everyone's attention, which he just did tonight. Representative Mark Johnson from Hood River, the Kinnemers, I talked to them both, the Representative Kinnemers here, Representative Betty Comp, Representative Ann Liniger, Representative John Lively from Eugene, Representative Caddy McCune up from Coos Bay. I know a big contingent, Caddy, is headed your way tomorrow with Arnie. Representative Rob Nose, not Nos. Representative Julie Parrish, Tobias Reed, Representative, my state rep. Senator Representative Jeff Reardon, we've got a problem back here of applauders. Representative Jessica Vega Peterson, again, Representative Dennis Richardson, the Republican nominee for governor, Representative Barbara Swith Warner, and Representative Jennifer Williamson. Ladies and gentlemen, the State House of Representatives. We're not done. The Metro Council President, who is in charge of this facility, Tom Hughes, is with us. Metro Councilor and Oregon Zoo Board members, Shirley Craddock. Metro Councilor Bob Stacy. What is it with this side of the room? Metro County Commissioner, and first time I've had to say this, not State Representative Jules Bailey. Metro County Commissioner Diane McKeel, Metro County Commissioner Judy Shiprack, and Metro County Commissioner, last but not least, the amazing Loretta Smith. Please thank all of these people for standing up for office. As I said, Jim Kelly, the founder of Rejuvenation Hardware, a manufacturing success story in Oregon that was started in North Portland. Jim and Sue now own a ranch in Eastern Oregon. Jim was one of our founders at OBA, and irrational enough from a February, March, April conversation, decide to become the chief petitioner of a ballot initiative in Oregon. Sue, we're now down to 14 days and 15 minutes till this election is over. Jim is from one of Oregon's most prominent families. He exemplifies entrepreneurship, business leadership, and service to our community. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to show a 30-second video about Measure 90, the open primary, and welcome up our chief petitioner of Measure 90, Jim Kelly.
You work hard to make things better. At your job, in your community, let's make our political system better. Vote yes on Measure 90. Open primaries. Everyone gets to vote in one primary. Top two face a general election. Voters get to choose candidates based on merit and ideas, rather than partisanship and insider party deals. 650,000 voters currently excluded get to participate. Vote yes on Measure 90. Better results by making every vote count.
Several people have been asking me whether or not Measure 90 will pass, and I am quite confident that it will. Actually, I'm taking bets, and after the program, I'll be over in that corner for any of you. I'm all ready to go. So, I became politically aware in the 1960s. My dad, Neil Kelly, was a New Deal Democrat, and my mom, Arlene, was a peacenik. And yes, we did listen to Pete Seeger. My parents always cared about elections. They volunteered, they canvassed. But more important than whether they were on the right or left of center was that they were engaged and involved. And in those days, we believed, and had good reason to believe, that through politics you could do big things, fix big problems, and help move the community and country forward. In 1960, just 2% of Oregon voters did not identify themselves as a Democrat or a Republican. And in those days, your next-door neighbor was hardly more likely to share your political views than someone living on the other side of the mountains. Everything has changed. Today, 32% of Oregon voters do not identify as a Democrat or a Republican, and your next-door neighbor's political views very likely mirror yours. With those generational changes, our primary system, which had served us well for many years, became part of the problem, effectively disenfranchising half the voters in Oregon and giving huge voice to very small groups of partisan voters. Having watched the political system stagnate for years and years, this year I did decide it was high time to stand up for the change we desperately need. Measure 90 will help us elect more problem solvers who will work across the aisle. And passing Measure 90 will help the good people who serve us today in political office become even better when they no longer have to worry about being primaried for doing the right thing. We would not have gotten on the ballot or have a great chance to win this without the help of many people and organizations represented here tonight. My heartfelt thanks to all of you. Now, let's get out there and win this. Thank you.
Okay, we are just about, thank you, Jim. Being a chief petitioner, I don't think Jim really, or Sue, counted on all what that entailed. So thank you, Jim, for doing that. A few other thank yous, and then we'll break for dinner. I want to first, in your programs is a list of the OBA Board of Directors and our committee chairs. You who would be surprised how much time these individuals spend debating, thinking, talking about the issues that we care about as a state. And so please take a look at that list of business leaders from across Oregon. They exemplify corporate leadership and business leadership, and I thank them for serving as OBA's board and chairs. Yeah, please. We want to thank our sponsors, AT&T and 3 Mile Canyon Farms, for helping put this event together. And two other thank yous before we break for dinner. Finally, the most important ones. Patty and Gina Williams are sitting in the back. It is shocking that they put 90% of this event together, just the two of them, and Kate Raphael, videos and people. So Patty Winter, she does not want an applause, but she deserves it, and Gina deserve applause for doing this whole event. And then finally, the team at the Oregon Convention Center who are serving us, who make our meals. And Freddie, come here, Freddie, where are you? So Freddie said to me, he grabbed me when I walked in. He knows us well because we've been here every year. Freddie, please come up and tell them what you told me when I walked in tonight, because I think, and I know a lot of the Metro Council is here. Tell our audience what you said to me when I walked in.
I said, if he bring you here to my house, I will take care of you.
With that, enjoy your meal.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the managing partner of Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt, Oregon Business Association Board of Directors Chair and father of the bride next week, Mark Long.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Mark Long, and I have the distinct privilege and honor to serve as the chair of the Board of Directors of the Oregon Business Association. During this past year, we as Oregonians had cause to celebrate our legislative leaders for coming together during a special session to negotiate a package of bills, a bargain for a better Oregon, that will result in more stable long-term public school funding, reduce PERS costs, and place Oregon on a healthier fiscal trajectory. This was accomplished in the spirit of bipartisan cooperation and compromise, enabling us to show America and Washington, D.C. that indeed things are different here. This year, we have the opportunity again to take pride in the fact that things are indeed different here. But this time we're focusing on a different group of Oregonians and a different kind of bargain as we honor the Knight Cancer Challenge and Phil and Penny Knight as this year's Statesman of the Year award. Please do. The Knight's generosity is indeed an incredible gift that will undoubtedly go a long way in the battle to eradicate cancer, a gift for which we are especially grateful. Apart from that, by issuing the challenge, the Knights have mobilized and catalyzed our community in pursuit of this very worthy cause, and in doing so have spurred collaboration and cooperation between labor and business, urban and rural, Republicans and Democrats, and have renewed a community spirit that exemplifies the very best of our state and its citizens. And for that gift, we are likewise grateful to Phil and Penny Knight. By honoring the Knights and the Knight Cancer Challenge, we're also celebrating science, discovery, and the power of human potential. At past Statesman events, we've welcomed political leaders like U.S. Representative Paul Ryan and United States Senator Christopher Dodd. This year, we're pleased to welcome to Portland one of the top thinkers and minds in America. With us here tonight, our keynote speaker, Shankar Vedantam, is a science correspondent with National Public Radio and author of The Hidden Brain, How Our Unconscious Minds Elect Presidents, Control Markets, Wage Wars, and Save Our Lives. Before joining NPR in 2011, Shankar was a national science writer for the Washington Post, where between 2007 and 2009, he authored a weekly column called The Department of Human Behavior. He's the winner of several journalism awards. He's also the 2009-2010 Nieman Fellow at Harvard University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Shankar Vedantam.
Shankar, we have had, like we said, presidential nominees, cabinet secretaries, U.S. senators. You know the list of, I've never seen a keynote speaker get a standing ovation at this annual event, so thank you very much. It's the first standing ovation I've seen for a keynote speaker. And why did I put my glasses on when I came to thank you for this speech? What was my... it is my honor, Senator Wyden, the chair of the U.S. Senate Finance Committee, is with us to kick off the second part of the evening. Senator Wyden has ascended to the very top of the political world in Washington, D.C. We are really lucky to have, it's been 20 or 30 years in coming, to have the chair of the Senate Finance Committee. He is a duck and a cardinal, like our honorees tonight. I think the duck stands out. And Senator Wyden, and he's also father of twins. Senator Ron Wyden, thank you for coming, and thank you for coming back to Oregon every week as the chair of the United States Senate Finance Committee.
Following Shunker is kind of like being the tugboat Annie going out after the Queen Mary has departed. And with respect to the twins that Ryan made mention of in the Finance Committee, nothing puts it in perspective like the twins this summer at all the camps at home. They played basketball, they played soccer, and at one of the kids came up to William Peter Wyden, age 6, and said, "William, we see your daddy on TV. He's on all these shows, some committee or something. He's on TV." And he just went on and on. William finally sniffed and goes, "We don't watch those shows." So it's great to be home. And I just want to spend a couple of minutes kind of giving you my sense of where we are. In the fall of 2013, Phil Knight did what Phil does best. He put out a jaw-dropping challenge that would make Oregon, America, and the world a better place. And it spurred Oregonians in every nook and cranny to step up and be part of it. Now, when we got the first news reports that Phil Knight was going to donate $500 million to OHSU to fight cancer, if the university could raise another $500 million, we pretty much went into shock. When we came to, we said, "Phil promised what?" Now, when it was confirmed that all of this was on the level, we saw that, again, what he was really saying is what he said to the state for years and years, that we could be the best. That for him was what living in Oregon was always about. It was always about being the best. And in effect, when he challenged us to step up and be the best again, we set in motion what I've come to call over the years the Oregon Way. The Oregon Way that brings people together to work for the best possible solution. After all, I think it is pretty clear there is no Democratic or Republican strategy for breaking the scourge of cancer. You break cancer by working together. And it really helps to have Dr. Brian Drucker on your side. I've announced publicly that anybody who tries to recruit Dr. Drucker away from Oregon will face up to multiple filibuster threats on my part. And the reality is that behind Brian, we've really had a citizens' army made up all the way from school children to Oregon's one and only one tough mother, Gert Boyle. And indulge me for just a minute to describe just a few other examples of how the Oregon Way is fighting cancer and stepping up to the Phil Knight challenge. In June, Willamette Dental Group announced that its employees would contribute to the challenge, with Willamette Dental Group matching employee contributions and Dr. Eugene Skordas, President and CEO, matching the combined total. Let's have a shout out for Willamette Dental. The Standard began a year-long initiative in June, matching employee and retiree donations to the Night Cancer Challenge 2-to-1. How about a shout out for the Standard? Oregon's firefighters are appealing to every firefighter in the state, every firefighter, to participate in this mission and end cancer. As if the firefighters didn't do enough, now they're helping us fight cancer. Let's give them a big round of applause. Now, Shanker laid out very well why we generate this kind of support. We saw how deeply cancer touches families, as many as 1.7 million new cases of cancer this year. And the fact is, we had a wonderful program today at OHSU, where again and again they stepped forward to spark discussions on these issues. And today we were talking about what I have come to call the premier health challenge of our time, which is fighting chronic disease. And I'm going to close just by putting this in perspective, because right at the heart of this strategy is fighting cancer. A lot of you were with me over the years when we started the Gray Panthers in our state. And back then I had a full head of hair and rugged good looks. And Medicare was sort of about maybe a senior would break their ankle. And if a senior broke their ankle and it wasn't too big a deal, the senior would go to the doctor's office, and maybe the doctor would manipulate the ankle a little bit, the senior might get a boot, and off they'd go, and that was Part B of Medicare. If it was a really big break, they would go to the hospital. And of course, those were the days when you might be in a hospital longer than 12 minutes if you had something serious. And that was Part A of Medicare. Today, Medicare has virtually nothing to do with broken ankles. If Medicare was about broken ankles today, I can promise you, you would never have the torturous experience of watching more political commercials about Medicare. You wouldn't have Democrats and Republicans duking it out over who was better at dealing with broken ankles. What Medicare is about is what you saw on the screen. It's about cancer, it's about diabetes, it's about stroke, it's about heart disease. That's the entire program. And yet, after a senior gets their free physical from Medicare, all the way through this odyssey that sometimes involves their not taking their medicine properly or not taking the drugs at the right time or talking to somebody about, interactions, and they end up in a hospital emergency room, we haven't gotten in place a coordinated care system so that when Brian, the researchers, and Phil Knight get us these spectacular advances, that we have the kind of delivery system we need to get the best possible care to those who are suffering from cancer and these dread diseases. Now, the good news is we finally have a bipartisan bill in the Senate to deal with Medicare and to deal with this challenge. Senator Johnny Isakson, the Republican of Georgia, has joined me. We have a very good Democrat. We have a very good Republican in the House. And we are going to move this bill. We are going to make this bill happen and make the federal government a better and smarter partner in fighting chronic disease. But I want to be clear tonight as we move to start this brief program. All the legislation in the world, cannot compete with citizens giving from their heart, all putting their oar in effect in the fighting cancer water and paddling in the same direction. All the legislation in the world, in my view, is not going to do as much as mobilizing citizens the way Phil and Penny Knight have sought to do. They represent Oregon at its best, and that's what we recognize here tonight. And as part of the Oregon way, people who don't always agree come together. Fortunately, in Oregon, business and labor agree a lot more than they do in lots of places. But I'm telling you, they sure understand our shared interest in fighting cancer. So please join me now in welcoming Brian Gard, past chairman of the Oregon Business Association and president of Gard Communications, and John Molis, the executive secretary of the Oregon State Building and Construction Trades Council. They're going to talk a little bit about a new and exciting partnership, business and labor, and they're going to call it, in the Oregon way, Unite for the Night. Brian and John, come on up.
Good evening. First, Phil and Penny Knight cannot be thanked enough for their $500 million pledge as part of the Knight Cancer Challenge. This challenge has been a catalyst for change in Oregon. For example, it's led to the formation of the Unite for Knight Coalition, with business and labor working together to help OHSU end cancer as we know it. The Oregon Building Trades Council is proud to join with the Oregon AFL-CIO, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, and our affiliated local unions throughout the state in support of the Knight Cancer Challenge. And I'm very pleased to be here with my co-chair, Brian Gard, representing the Oregon Business Association, Associated Oregon Industries, the Portland Business Alliance, and the Oregon Business Council. Brian?
Thank you, John. As you've heard already, many Oregon businesses and labor organizations have already joined the Knight Challenge. The Unite for the Night campaign is going to be continuing this effort over the next year and continuing to grow our response to the challenge. The Unite for the Night demonstrates what can happen when business and labor join together in serious purpose. We view this, both John and I and the others who are part of the committee, as a demonstration project of what business and labor can do when we work, and as Senator Wyden said, in the Oregon way to solve the problems of Oregon. I'd like you to give your attention to a short video now that has two remarkable individuals in it and two remarkable physicians, and talks about something of which there can be no more serious purpose, as we all learned when we all stood when we were asked if cancer had affected our lives. Thank you.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Knight, I would like to say thank you for your commitment to cancer research and care at Oregon Health and Science University. My name is Pete Julian. I'm an Oregonian through and through. I was born in Eugene in 1971.
Come on, Salty, let's go for a walk. Come on, Pup. Oh, good. Dear Penny and Phil, I'm writing to thank you for your selfless generosity to OHSU Knight Cancer Institute. I also want to tell you a little bit about my story and why I feel so strongly about OHSU and the Knight Cancer Institute.
6 years ago, I showed up on OHSU's doorstep with metastatic cancer that couldn't be treated with traditional chemotherapy or radiation.
On February 14th, 2008, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, 1 month before my son Aaron was to be married. I was stunned because I am from a huge family with hundreds of women, and there's never been a case of cancer.
Our goal is to defeat cancer, plain and simple. When I was in medical school, I remember sitting through a class, and it was about the history of chemotherapy and the cure of childhood leukemia. Most people are thinking, we need more chemotherapy, higher doses. And for me, it's no, we got to think differently about this. It's not about more chemotherapy, it's about being smarter. What we need are more specific technologies that allow us to identify cancers that would be lethal. This is our opportunity to make an impact.
Looks great, guys.
2 years ago, Alberto Salazar called me and asked if I wanted to be a coach for the Nike Oregon project.
That's good. Perfect. Good.
I took the job and I love coming to work every day.
155, 156, 157. Perfect.
These are just some of the things I've been up to since then. I taught my son Wade how to ride a bicycle. I've walked my dog over 2,500 miles. I've run over 8,000 miles. I supported the Trailblazers no matter what and never jumped on the Seahawk bandwagon no matter what. After all, I'm an Oregonian. I've jumped into freezing Swiss Alps lakes with my wife Colleen, and I've also lounged with her on the couch. I've also had the distinct privilege to notice how whenever the sunlight hits her face, she pauses, closes her eyes, and smiles, and then goes about her day. I could watch that over and over again. I've been to as many of Wade's soccer games as I can, and my favorite part is when he makes a great play, he peeks over at the sidelines to see if Colleen and I are watching. Yes, we are. So that's a little bit of what I've been up to these past 6 years. I've lived.
As an owner of a small business, I understood how important it was to gather as much information as I could to make a decision I would not regret. I set out interviewing surgeons and cancer groups in Portland. First, they all had the same plan for me. My breast cancer was stage 2, and the recommendation was a lumpectomy and radiation. Needless to say, I was terrified. Then I interviewed the cancer team at OHSU, and I mean team. I would see how this collaboration with the doctors at OHSU became very important in my cancer care. I had no idea how they would end up saving my life.
Every time I have to go through that CAT scan machine in the radiology department at OHSU, I pray. I pray that I can live. That's it. But you know, living isn't just having a heartbeat or an inhale or exhale of air. To live? Well, to live is to have a life that we look forward to each and every day. I've had no chemotherapy and no radiation. The only thing that I've had to do is take my daily Gleevec medication created by Dr. Drucker. Slowly but surely, the tumors I had begin to get smaller and smaller, and now the doctors cannot see anything at all.
With Gleevec, we identified what was driving the growth of the cancer. We developed a drug to shut down that specific abnormality. We had a treatment that worked, has minimal side effects, and has taken the disease that once had a 3 to 5 year life expectancy into one where we expect people to live a normal lifespan. They're driven by excellence and a desire to do something spectacular in Oregon. I've been incredibly fortunate that they've seen that in the work that I've accomplished and the fact that they believe in what we can do for the future. We're going to set a goal on solving the problem of early detection, making an impact against cancer. Not how many grants do we get, how many publications do we get, it's let's solve the problem.
Today, 6 years later, I am healthy and I have returned to all my activities.
Although we may have many new novel treatments for cancer, we have not reached the finish line just yet. We must now drive our arms, lift our knees, put our chins down, and sprint.
What I've learned about Oregonians is how incredibly generous they are. Starting with school kids who've done bake sales to meet the night challenge, with patients who've delivered a $25 check because they believe in our mission. The state legislature, which overwhelmingly supported a $200 million investment in our university to work on the cancer problem. People from all walks of life, all ages, all means have stepped up because they recognize this is our opportunity to make an impact.
It has provided the opportunity to put Oregon in a prominent place in history in eradicating cancer.
I can't think of any other place that has a vision of bringing a team of scientists together with this amount of funding to focus them on the cancer problem. This is absolutely unique, it's remarkable, and an incredible opportunity for us.
Penny and Phil, I want to thank you for what you're doing for Oregon and what you're doing for OHSU and the challenge that you've given all of us. Not only are you giving us the challenge of raising the money, but you're also giving us all the challenge of being better and having a purpose. I wonder if you know how many lives you're changing. Peace, June Cooley.
Thank you for not only believing in OHSU, but in the resolution, courage, and innovation of humanity. Sincerely, Pete Julian.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Brian Drucker and OHSU President Joe Robertson accepting the 2014 Statesman of the Year Award on behalf of Phil and Penny Knight.
Well, Brian and I are each going to say a few words, and I've been given the privilege of going first. I think speaking for both of us, I can say that we're not only honored, but we're humbled to be here this evening to accept this award on behalf of Phil and Penny Knight. When Phil and Penny Knight pledged the $500 million if we could match it, they did something very, very special. They wanted to enjoin others, okay? And I don't know if they had read the work of our speaker tonight, but they had very well developed hidden brains, because what they did in creating this challenge, they made it personal. They created a challenge that has been taken up across this great state. Immediately, in a very short period of time, our legislature answered that challenge. Yes. And they answered it in a bipartisan way that I think is uniquely Oregonian. And again, alluding back to tonight's conversation, if Phil and Penny Knight made it personal, our legislature made it contagious. And I have found that out time and time again as I travel around this great state. Everybody wants to be a part of this campaign. And we saw an incredible example of that this evening about Unite for the Night, with labor and business working together in an almost unprecedented manner. And we have seen it in so many ways, but perhaps none more touching than the children selling the cookies and selling the lemonade. Okay, I think that will be brandished in our minds forever. And what that tells you is that this is a campaign that is raising and changing the consciousness of the next generation. So what we have is a truly unique moment. It isn't just a special moment. This has become a real movement. This is a movement that I think all of us feel we can all be very proud of. And it is a movement that certainly will be cherished by patients whose lives have been impacted for decades and decades. It will change the history of this great state, and it is also something that will be remembered 50 years from now by the kids that were making those cookies. So now it's my privilege to introduce the individuals whose scientific innovation launched the revolution in individualized and personal therapy that ultimately ignited the Knight's interest and hence ultimately brought us here together. It's Dr. Brian Drucker.
Well, let me again thank all of you for being here and for this incredible honor that you're bestowing upon Phil and Penny Knight. And it's hard to believe that it was just a year ago that Phil and Penny gave us this great challenge. And although it hasn't been said tonight, we stand already at $440 million toward that goal of raising $500 to make their match. Someone once said, a goal is a dream with a deadline. Well, they gave us a big goal and an incredible deadline. And look at how much we've gotten toward that goal. And who would have imagined that a year ago that we'd be at this point 1 year later? But as you've heard, Oregon has made the Knight Challenge their cause. We've had unprecedented and broad-based support. And I know we're in the midst of an election cycle, but we're reminded that there are causes that are bigger than any of us. As you saw when Shankar gave his talk, every single person in this room has been affected by cancer. And as Phil Knight said, is there any higher cause than curing cancer? At the Knight Cancer Institute, we pioneered targeted cancer therapy. And 15 years ago, we revolutionized the approach to cancer. And today, because of the work we did here, there are now hundreds of new cancer therapies on the market, thousands more in development, and hundreds of thousands of lives saved because of what we've accomplished. But now it's time for us to take the lead in the early detection of cancer. At the Knight, we recognize that the future lies in applying the knowledge, the understanding of what drives the growth of cancer to develop better means of early detection. And because of the leadership of Oregonians, we're already planning buildings. We're already recruiting spectacular scientists. And just a week ago, we had a think tank of 20 of the leading experts in early detection in the country advising us about how to best invest our funds. As many of you know, the standard model of research is for researchers to work in isolation, rarely collaborating or communicating. But this is Oregon. We do things differently here. We will assemble an extraordinary multidisciplinary team of cancer researchers to focus on detecting cancer at its earliest stages. With that, we'll create better imaging technologies that will search for subtle changes of cancer. We'll develop simple, non-invasive tests that will uncover early signs of the disease. And by doing this, we'll find cancers at their earliest, most curable stages, and we will save millions of lives. I've been absolutely inspired by all the people who've been given, from the girls raising money at a lemonade stand, to our legislature led by Speaker Kotek and President Courtney pledging $200 million in bonding authority toward this, because they want Oregon to be the place where we end cancer. And of course, as you heard from Ron, that one tough mother who's shown us her softer side and is leaving behind such an incredible legacy. But tonight, we're here to celebrate your partnerships, but we're here to create a world where all cancer patients will win their battle. Thank you very much.
We're done. Thank you for attending the 2014 Statesman Dinner. The flowers in the middle are yours. Rochambeau Forum. Thank you for coming to the Statesman Dinner. We'll see you next year.